Hello everyone, my name is Ronak and you're watching Vector Art. Welcome back to the channel. If you have been working on modern WPF applications, you know that subtle fluid animations are a key to a great user experience. Today, we are tackling this super popular UI pattern, the fluid segmented control, often called as the blue pill effect. It uses smooth motions and smart layers to create a beautiful, effortless transition as you see on the screen. So we'll do this using just XML and C Sharp and crucial tools called Translate Transform in WPF. So let's get straight into the video. And before that, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel. It means a lot. It motivates me to create more such videos. So moving ahead, let's start by opening Visual Studio 2022 or higher and start creating a WPF application with .NET Framework. So let's click on create a new project. Select WPF app with .NET Framework. If you do not have it in your recent templates, you can search here and click on next. Let's give this project a name. So I will name this project as the blue pill and click on create. So let's first focus on the window. I am going to set the window background to a very light color of blue. So for our window to have a clean look. So let's start by adding some of the properties like title, height, width, and background. So let me go ahead and update these. So I have set the title as fluid segmented control. Head, height, and width remain the same, and the background of this light bluish color. It will appear more towards the white, but it has a light blue tint. Then we need the entire control needs to be rounded rectangle shape, and for that we will use a border. And we will name this border the container border, which will be our white background, and we'll set the width of this control to 360 pixels and 50 as the height. Crucially, we set the corner radius to 25 to get that perfect pill shape. So let's start doing it by adding those controls. So let's go ahead and create this border. So inside our, let's go ahead and remove this grid. We do not need this grid, and let's add this border, and let's close this border element. So now we have our border, which is called container border. It has a width of 360, height of 50, horizontal alignment and vertical alignment is to the center, which you can see over here, and background is white, and it has a corner radius of 25 points. Now next we will create the star of the show, that is the pill indicator. It is another border, but it's blue. Since we have three segments, its width is exactly 1/3 of the container, which is 120 pixels. So let's start by creating that. So first we will need a grid. So within our border we'll create a grid, and let's close this grid, and within our grid we will create this border. And let's also go ahead and close this border. So now you can see we have this pill indicator of width 120, and we have the whole border as 360. So 360 divided by 3 is 120, and the height is 50 points, and the corner radius is 25 to match with the main border. And it has a background of blue, and the horizontal alignment is set to left. We'll automate all of these or properties from the code behind. So when we move to the button click events, so now we will have to also apply the translate transform to the indicator for smooth movement of these animations. So to make the pill move, we need to hook a translate transform. We use the render transform property and define a translate transform named pill translate. So let's do that by adding this piece of code within our border. And this is a render transform, and within our render transform we have a translate transform called pill translate. And by using the x value, we can slide the pill effect left and right, and that's how we will do the animation or the movement of this pill. So for example, if I change the x property to 120, you'll see that the pill has moved 120 to the left, to the right, or the x axis. And if I move it back to 0, it will move back to its original position, which is at the start, which is the zero position. Now finally we will overlay an internal grid on top. This grid defines the three segments using column definitions with width star to ensure they are all of equal sizes. So let's start by adding a grid within our border. Outside our border. So here we will create a grid, and within our grid we will create the column definitions. And next we should be moving to the buttons. So we need text, not clunky gray rectangles. So if we simply add buttons, you will see these buttons in the old gray fashion, which we do not want. For example, let me add a button and you will soon see what I mean. So let's add the all the buttons here on in within our grid. And this is our first button, and here you can see I have the style specified. Right now I have not created that resource, so you can see how these buttons look like, and it does not go with our theme that we are trying to create. So to do that, we need to first define our style. So let's start by defining the style first, and we will call this style segmented button that makes the background and the border transparent, leaving us with just the clean gray text. So I will go ahead and remove the style for now, and you will soon see what I mean when we apply styles to our buttons. So to have these styles, we need windows. We can define it at the window level. So let's say window.resources, and within our resources, we will create the style. So I have already the code written for this. I will copy and paste it, and I'll explain what the code does. So here is the style that I want, and the key is called segmented button, and the target type is button. So I want to apply this to our buttons and using the static resource called segmented button. Here we have set the background as transparent, border thickness is 0, font size is 14, font weight is semi bold, padding as 0, cursor will change to a hand cursor when you move or hover over it, and the focusable is false, foreground is set to a gray color. And next we set the default text color as gray, and we define a template. And within our template we set the control template for our button, and we define how we want our control template to look like. For example, this is the every button has a control template, and we are defining that within this control template and the target type button. So we want a border, and within that border we want the background to be the background color, which is transparent. We want the border brush to be of this template binding border brush, which is over here set. And then we want the border thickness to the value of 0. And then finally we have the padding value, which is also 0. So all of these properties that we defined in the top are being bound to this border properties. And finally, the content presenter of the button. Every button will have a content presenter, and we are setting the horizontal alignment and vertical alignment of that content presenter to center. So this is our style that we want, and we will apply now this style to our button that we created at the bottom. So let's go ahead and add this style, and let me copy this and paste it over here. And now you can see our button looks way different than what it was before, which was a plain flat style gray button. So now we need to place the rest of the two buttons. One would be for the movie and the other is for the apps. So let me copy this and paste it here. And now you have two more buttons with the similar style that we have applied to the two buttons. You can also see we have the click event handlers, which we have not gone to yet, which will be written in the code behind. So we will do that soon. And you can also see we have the tag set on each of the buttons. We will make use of these tags when we write the code for the segmented button click, and this is how we will know which button is clicked and which tag we are on. So we set this button column index 0, 1 and 2. This C# code will read the value to know how far to move the pill. And the second, the click event handlers that we just talked about. And we also have we also need to change the foreground of these buttons as and when we click on it, because right now you can see it is gray, and when the pill is on top of it, the foreground of this button should change to white. So we will focus on all of these in the code behind. So let's move to the code behind here, and first build our application to just rule out all of these errors if there are any. So basically the error is that the segmented button underscore click does not exist. So let's start by fixing all of that. So first we will add the animation duration property. This will define the duration for our fluid movement, and we start with two constants. So let me go ahead and add it here on the top. So sorry, I've pasted it the wrong place. So we have our first constant, which is animation duration second. um, and here we are setting the animation duration value to 0.35, and the shorter the duration, the snappier the movement. So right now I've set it to 0.35. You can increase it or decrease it. The next constant is the segment width, and this will set the default value of the segment width to 120. Since our control is 360, we have set the default segment width to 120. Because we have three buttons, we will move those pill on every click to 120 width. So next, we will start by writing the event handler segment button click. So let's start adding that code, and I will explain you step by step on what the code is. Before that, I just wanted to log the initialized state of the console. So let me go ahead and paste in the code after the initialize component to just log that the segmental control is initiated. Now I will go ahead and paste the code for the segmented button click, and let me paste in the code. And here is the segmented button click. So first we determine the target index from the button's tag property. So if you have clicked the movie button or the music button, it has this tag property, and we will take that tag, which will tell us what index it is. So we have the index now, and with that index we multiply it with the segmented width, which is here on the top, and that will give us the target offset. Once we have the target offset, we check if the pill of a pill's x value is already at the target offset or not. For example, if the pill is at the already at the 120 value, then if it is equal to that, we do not move the pill anymore or do not trigger the animation. We just return a null. But if that pill is at the zeroth value and it is not equal to the target offset, then it will trigger the animation. So that is what will happen here. And next we set up the animation. So we create a double animation, and we set the two property to the target offset that we calculated using the target index and the segment width. And the duration is equal to, from seconds, the value that we set over here for the animation. And the easing function is equal to the new cube ease, and the easing mode is ease out. This provides a fluid smooth look. And finally we begin the animation and provide the values over here. Lastly, we update the text colors to reflect the new selection, and this function will do just that. Um, so we need to write this final function, and our animation will be ready. So here I am pasting in the code for this update text color. All this function does is that it resets all the buttons to the default gray color, and finally sets the button that is clicked to of I mean basically the button that is clicked, that button's foreground to a brush of white. So that is what we spoke about, and I think our application is now ready to be run. So let's run the application, and a beautiful modern and functional segmented control in WPF with a super smooth fluid animation will be ready. It's all about layering elements and strategically using the translate, transform, and cube ease to make this UI work. So here I am running the application, and here you can see we have our animation control ready, which has the pill on the zeroth x value. And as I click on this, you will see that the tag is captured, and the offset is moved, and the pill is moved to the new location, and also the animation is triggered, and the foreground of that button is changed. So if I click on this, it is moving to the final position. If I click on the same button, the animation will not trigger as the offset is at the same position. So now you know how we can create such an animation. If you have found this tutorial helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe for more modern WPF design tutorials. All the code is linked in the description below. Please do check it out. We will meet in the next video where we will take another concept in WPF and explain it in detail. Hope you all like watching this video. Till then, bye bye.